Pleasant good afternoon, one and all. Welcome to the Friday afternoon's episode of Speaking Out, Exposing Corruption and Incompetence. Welcome. It's good to be with you this Friday afternoon as we approach the weekend. I know, many of us, weekends are things that we look forward to be able to relax and take your mind off of work. Those of us who can afford, who can do that, take your mind off of work, wind down, take a toops, as they would say, and relax and refresh your batteries to go again in the coming week. So yes, here we are. Today is Friday. Thank God it's Friday. Friday, the 12th day of September in the year 2025. And here we are again for this other episode. Another great day that the Lord has made. Let's rejoice and be glad in it. Let's give praise and thanks to being in the land of the living. It's a privilege to be in the land of the living, and we should never, ever take that for granted. So, yeah, share the live. Let them know that we are here. Let them know. Share the live. Let your colleagues know. By now people know that we are on Fridays. Well, somehow, sometime, it slipped them. Sometimes. So, share the live. Let them know that we're on. The notification was posted this morning, and I was pleased to see many of you students responded immediately, acknowledging the notification that we are going to be here at 4 o'clock this Friday afternoon. So here we are. Share. My colleague, Mr. Conway, CC, is already in the studio. You're going to tell us if he encountered any ladies over the past day or two. But here we are. And we have lots to tell you this afternoon. Lots and lots to tell you. We have to prioritize what we are going to talk about. Some things we have to leave back for our next program. But we have lots to tell you this afternoon. So share. Take your popcorn. Some of you might go for something more potable, something stronger, the spirits or something like that. Some of you might have. Whatever is your choice. Relax, and we are going to bring the information to you. This afternoon, when the program was scheduled at 2 o'clock, people rushed into the schoolyard. The first man in was Barlett. Then I know earlier too was Wayne Little from the UK, and many others came in, but those names have been struck off, and therefore I'm not able to put them up. And but welcome. And then when we went live, the first man here is Edward Charles Isaacs, and then let me put you up there. Edward Charles is here in the schoolyard very early. Rosie, then it was Simone, Joan, Carlton is here very early. And the list is very, very long. Very, very long. So here we are again, this day, this great day that the Lord has made. Let's rejoice and be glad in it. And we are going to bring you credible, valuable information. We are going to bring you this afternoon. In terms of the announcements, let me make the announcements. Again, unfortunately, we have some sad announcements to make. It is always regrettable when you have to announce the passing of anyone. And I learned this morning of the passing of a policewoman. She was the name Tamika McKenna or McIntosh. Some people say McIntosh. Some telling us McKenna. I think she was stationed either at Providence or Renville. 32 years old is the information I got. Passed away. I don't know the circumstances. But let me tell you this morning, with all them police were passing away under this police administration, something wrong, man. Something is wrong. Them people want to bathe in blue water. Some of them want to take a walk towards north and keep walking. Ricey, she kept on walking. That's what they got to do. Something is wrong, man. Something is wrong. So many people are dying. And we caution members of the force. We have been doing that. Don't take chances with your health. Go and get medical checkup. We understand that this young lady who passed 32 years old, passed away. And they're saying that she was one of the recently promoted ranks. That nightmare that the president got and decided to promote 2,800 and something police ranks. I think she was one of them who got favored, right? And then I learned today we learned of the death of retired Senior Superintendent Lawrence Kisoon. Lawrence Kisoon, yes, for those older police who were here. Lawrence was a character, I would call him. He was one of the persons on the first prosecutor schools. Good police. He was a good police, good prosecutor, right? But he was from the from the house of Bacchus. You know, Bacchus was the goddess of wine. So Lawrence was from the house of Bacchus, and he loved his cigarette, he loved his wine, or something even stronger, and he loved a debate. He loved a debate. I love to interact with him. He was always very respectful. So I learned a few hours ago that he passed away, and I'm hearing that he passed away in the United States of America. And then there is a former member of the Guyana Youth Corps. I told y'all I joined the Guyana Youth Corps back in October 1969 as a little teenager. And one of the persons there, the Alfred Petty, former Youth Corps member, passed away. I think he was from New Amsterdam. I understand that he passed away too. So condolences to the relatives and friends of all those persons who have passed. Condolences to the ranks in the Guyana Police Force on the passing of one of your colleagues. But God knows best. As we say, God's time is the right time. Man can appoint, God will disappoint. Whenever he decides that you have to go, you have to go. You can't run and you can't hide. All the thieving that you thief, all the money that you thief, all the ills that you do, all the lies that you tell to people, when the time comes for you to go, you have to go. You have to answer for your stewardship for the time you was in God's earth, right? So again, condolences to the relatives and friends of those persons who have passed. And I got to remind you too, today is 531 days since Sergeant Alex Vaughan was killed. 531 days, right? And you can't hear what is the outcome of that investigation and so on. They told us that it was accidental fire. That is what they said. 3 times he was shot. That is what the postmortem revealed. They said a rank who was responsible was placed under close arrest, and we now hear nothing anymore. A sergeant of police killed on duty, and you ain't anything more. When you talk about it, the vex. Well, the vex, the vex with their face. And as them little Bible say, who vex, drink more vex. I have no time with them on that. I will come and we will come and bring you the truth and tell you what you need to know. So yeah, condolences to those persons. For the happier announcements, birthday greetings today. Birthday greetings are going out to a very good friend of mine, former Detective Sergeant Mickey D'Souza, Michael D'Souza, we call him Mickey. Mickey used to be at CAD headquarters there. Very, very good detective back in the day. But Mickey, I think, was 9928 or something like that. Around that area was his regulation number. He left as a sergeant, and he was working with the World Bank and all of that. So today is his natal day, and I sent greetings to him, and he told me that he has been able to achieve that biblical age of 70. So Mickey, all the best to you, my brother. And today too is the birth anniversary of Frank Harvey. Frank Harvey retired in the police force. Then they took him at Soku. And he's one of them, what did they use him for come after people? He's one of them, they go for arrest Conway and all of that. Frank Harvey is observing a natal day today. And there's a famous person who's observing a birthday today. I refer to no other than Sir Wesley Hall, cricketer Wesley Hall, 88 birthday today. I remember seeing Wesley Hall in a test match, 1968, England versus the West Indies at Border. And Wesley Hall used to get a big chain dangling around in it, bowling. That was the first test match I saw. Wesley Hall and the bowling there against England. And if you remember, those of you, the older people, like, I don't know if Percy was old enough and these guys old enough to remember, that match ended up in a lot of controversy. Will add or not, the wicketkeeper padding up the landscapes, and umpire Cecil Kippins from Guyana said not out all the time. If I remember correctly, at the end of the game ended in a draw. The West Indies wanted 1 wicket and not that down there and padding up and padding up and padding up all the time. And appeal for LBW, they then putting it out, and they held on to a draw, and therefore won that series. England won that series 1-0. And Kippins lived somewhere in Queenstown. Police had to go and guard the house the night. People were so enraged over the decision. Cecil Kippins, he wore a bug house. You know them bug house hat? He wore a bug house when he was umpiring. Yeah, so I remember that. So today, Sir Wesley Hall, 88 birthday. He was manager for the West Indies team. He was president of the West Indies Cricket Board. He became a preacher and all of that. Wes Hall's birthday today. So Wes, I wish you all the best on this, your natal day. Then we have some belated birthday greetings. I missed it on Wednesday, but Clinton Rocky Blair, Manish Puppy, had a birthday. I think it was Wednesday. You know, Blair was one of them 10,000 police Brahmel Scotty, 100 something 5 or something like that. There were 2 or 3 Blairs in that squad. That's Rocky Clinton Blair observed about anniversary recently. And in terms of also observing about anniversary recently is woman assistant superintendent Tiffany Williams. Tiffany Williams, she used to be at the sports secretariat there with police, and she observed about anniversary recently too. So I want to take this opportunity to wish those. And then in terms of future birthday, I noted that we have attorney at law Ronald Daniels, the man who was on the Up News slate, who writes a lot on social media and so on. He is observing, I think it's tomorrow or sometime soon. And I got to take this opportunity to although I did announce it before, related to yesterday was the birth anniversary of retired Deputy Commissioner Alvin Smith, Lloyd Alvin Smith. Again, you got to mention him. And also Leon Simon, right? 9778 Simon. They were yesterday. 9/11 was their birthday. So again, birthday greetings to all those who are celebrating today, who celebrated recently, and those who are celebrating in the near future. Let me bring in CC, and then we are going to move on. CC, welcome, my brother.
Thank you. Happy to be in the land of the living to do God's work. Birthday greetings are in place. I endorse the statements that you made. Yes, and I also watched the test match at border with West Holland and Allen, not that them padding up to landscapes and so forth. That was my first test match at border, and I was at Rails, the Sun Stand. And my sympathy goes out to the relatives, friends of the deceased. I remember Lawrence Kissoon very well, very well. I remember he went on this 1-year special pastoral course, and he used to cram all them case laws. He used to repeat them off his head and things. So, and I used to call him in his latter years in the force, Elvis Presley. After incident I let him, I won't go into details, but I used to call him Elvis Presley, and we used to laugh over it. But let me tell you a story about Kissoon. When I was a force trainer officer, we had what we call the Smelly Cup, the force aid competition. And I was in charge of the college then, and I had to organize the competition. And I pick up some recruits, raw recruits, and hey, I say, you are going to win this Smelly Cup competition. We had the competition. And I had a recruit named Casimiro, Amerindian descent. So after the competition, they finished the theory and the practical. We had Dr. Leslie Mutu was the chief judge. And he said that, hey, when they're going to choose the best force aider, he said Kissoon was outstanding. He said, but he won the best force aider on 2 previous occasions. So he don't think he should give him. So he asked me if I agreed. I said yes. And he said there's an Amerindian boy named Casimiro. He was on my force. He said Casimiro did well and we should give Casimiro. And we gave Casimiro. But the thing is that Larry Lewis was the commissioner of police. And normally he's give out awards, presented the Smelly Cup and give out awards. I know they're doing force aid competition anymore. And Larry Lewis gave the force aid prize. And then he promoted it to a lance corporal. So I turned to Larry Lewis. I said, I said, "Sir, the man is a trainee. He ain't finished his training yet." So he said, "So you want me to take back the stripe?" "I'm not taking back any stripe. And you, the force training officer, has got to arrange a program for his personal development for the next 2 years and come back within a week to me with your program." So I did some running around. I talked to some people and thing. I went to Mr. Samuel Small, and he was an adult educator, a man who got a national award for adult education, a Caribbean award for adult education, and he was on the world body that dealt with adult education. He was the director of the Institute of Adult and Continuing Education University, and he gave me some ideas in terms of supervision and what to do. So I went back to Larry Lewis, and I gave him the program and an assessment form. So he said, "Did you talk to anybody?" I said, "I talked to some police." "Did you talk to Mr. Small?" I said, "Yes, I spoke with him." Because I know they were very good friends and things. And the program that I did, their classroom sessions and attachment to various places. I had them attached to Brickdam, TSU, I had CID, traffic, and Larry Lewis adding special branch. So Casimiro went about in the attachment, various attachment. He went Brickdam, he went TSU, and then traffic. And I got transferred, went out of the college. And Casimiro remained there, and he remained a landscaper for a number of years. I don't know if he's still in the work or he left the work and thing, but I don't know. But I remember Larry Lewis promoted a trainee with just a couple of months service to lance corporal, because his idea was the best for. I didn't know that he would have promoted it the best for sailor to whatever rank. I know you give him money, but that was it. Where Casimiro, a trainee with about 5 to 6 months service, was promoted to a lance corporal, and I had to design a program for him, which included an attachment. So when I heard about Kisun death, I remember this story where he was the best force aider in terms of his activity, but Dr. Leslie Mutu said he had it 2 times before, and this time we give somebody, and he gave it to Casimiro, and Casimiro get a last carpet strip. I remember that clearly. And I didn't go out for the past couple of days, so I didn't reach any beautiful, wonderful women. I stayed home with the best woman in the world, a woman I met since 1976 and still with me.
That is a good. That's compliments to her, not to you. Compliments to her for sticking with you all these years. Now let me say this. Let me say this. Yeah, I remember the story with Casimiro. He was here a long time. And as I said, Kisun was brilliant. He had a fantastic memory. He would memorize all them things and so on. Back in the day, I used to be a force aider too. I used to lead the TSU force aider team when I was a sergeant there. And then the people that in school cocked me in that, you used to get a little something at the end of the year. But then if you became a lecturer, a lay lecturer, force aid lay lecturer, then you get something more. And I did that. I glad for this something more, and I got promoted to lay lecturer, not realizing that once you're promoted to lay lecturer, you can no longer take part in the competition. Yeah, you couldn't no longer. I see Paul, he said he was there that quick test match too. I guess he was one of the board men. You were the board men of Border, the men who watched cricket from up in the trees outside in Regent Street. I was in Rails too, CC. I have memories of that test match with results. Ron Kanai make 100. I think Sue was make 100. Boycott made 100 at some stage. Colin Cowgie made runs there too. Yeah, I remember that. Last Gibbs, I think, got 6 wickets in the 4 innings. And so, yeah, so let me move on though. Talking about cricket. let me put you all out at ease, these Amazon Warrior fans. that given the result last night between Barbados and I think it was St. Kitts, Amazon Warrior will qualify into the final four, right? Because when I looked at it, they have 8 points with 2 games to remaining. Barbados, they're number 4. Barbados, St. Kitts has 8 points too, and they have completed their quota of matches, but Warriors have a better run rate than them. And then the last team, they're Barbados, they have 3 points with 2 matches to go. So the maximum points they can reach is 7. And so therefore, based on my calculation, the Warriors will qualify. The Warriors will qualify. Well, they will be in the last 4. So they're going to move into the playoff. They're going to move into the playoff. Yeah, people telling me, I couldn't believe my eyes when I look at the cricket today. England and South Africa are playing in a T20 match in England at Manchester. But I look at the score a while ago. England had 270 something for 2 in 17 point something overs. They ended the 20 overs with a score of 304 for 2. 20 overs, 304 for 2. I had to check to see if it was a 50 over game they played. 304 for 2. And of course, South Africa struggling 122 for 6 in the 14th over. I said, my lad, that licks like peas in England innings. Phil Salt, 141. Because they had an opening stand of 100 and something with Salt and Butler. Josh Butler, 83 off of 30 deliveries. Phil Salt's strike rate was 235. 15 fours and 8 sixes. Then you had Butler, 83 off 30. 8 fours and 7 sixes. And then you get it back. Harry Book, 41 with 5-4. Oh, there's murder. There you have. So the cricket is a nice game. Cricket is nice. So that is it for the cricket. Let me remind you guys that this month is Amerindian Heritage Month. And we must continue to support our Amerindian brothers and sisters, even though the Graves Transportation Service at the instigation of Amir Ahmad will put all them up on the trailer before elections because they were going to some activity organized by the WIN. We Invest in National Party. They put them up on the road, man. They put them out on the road. So, yeah, but this is their month. Yeah. And who will forget that yesterday, the day that the world changed, somebody said in the last comment, the day the earth stood still, the day the world changed, 9/11, the terrorist attack on the Twin Towers in New York, the Pentagon in D.C., and then the plane that crashed in, I think, out of Pennsylvania. How many thousands of persons were killed, and the world changed forever. That is when you start airport, all this security and so on. And I have to remind them, somebody said, well, they have decided now to relax the removal of footwear. Yeah, some airport, but not in Guyana. Up to last week, when you're traveling through Guyana, you still have to take off your footwear. Let me be fair to them. They never asked me to take off my footwear. But I saw people in front of me taking off the footwear, and they weren't told not to. So, me, a man I like following the law, I took off my footwear too, and nobody told me not to take it off. I took it off, and I put it in. So I assume that they're still in Guyana asking you to take off your footwear. I don't know if it's because of the type of machine they have, because, in some of these machines now, you're traveling to the U.S. and other places, depending on which machine you go to, they will say for that machine, you don't have to remove your electronic devices from your bag and so on, put them through. And at the same lineup, they tell you a machine number, so you have to remove your computer, remove your iPad and so on from. So maybe Guyana still get one of them old-time machine that requires you to remove your footwear when you're going through. So yeah. Let me bring in CC to comment on those things, the cricket and the 9/11, and we're gonna move on. CC, your comments, please.
Yeah, I watch cricket, and I was amazed. But England playing attacking kind of cricket. They're playing cricket that West Indies used to play in the heydays, and so they're doing fairly well. And 9/11, remember Bin Laden, and where was he living? right in the heart of Pakistan. Al Balba, I can't pronounce the word properly,
This is
And
Abbottabad or some
or something,
Abbottabad in Pakistan, yeah.
yeah.
He wrote
And
that
if,
30.
yeah. And if you want to read more about 911, I got a book about the book. It's No Easy Day by the Navy SEAL who said that he's the man who shoot Bin Laden in his head when they stormed that place there. No Easy Day. I think there's a film upon it there. But that's the day that they changed the world for you, Paul. Really, really changed the world. And when I saw it on the television after he came in from Letterman, turned on my television, I say, hey, how they showing pictures now, not knowing the thing was live they were showing. And with all the technology they got, boots on the ground, they got the point bun, boots on the ground. Technology, the cameras, they are after the fact. But boots on the ground is important.
Well, yeah, I always make the point when you talk about technology. Yeah, boots on the ground, and in some cases you can use it proactively. I remember going when I was in Staff College in the UK in 1994. I was taken to Northamptonshire, Campbell Square, I think the police station, which is the headquarters for that, and they had cameras there in the city. The first time I saw it, they had cameras in the city, and they could look at the cameras in the control room. But they had boots on the ground, and if they saw any suspicious movement, they can advise, they can inform the people on the ground where to go and where to look and who to look at and all this type of thing. But just to get it there and to later on tell me you're reviewing and then it then walking and all that type of thing, I don't know. And I don't know, right? Now, let me move on. We had the elections, and by now we would have expected to get the cabinet, and even though the cabinet can make up some food, some wood that would answer it out, there's a cabinet we can get. And by now we would have already members of parliament. But I told you all, look at who are going to be in the cabinet. Look at those who are going to be out. That will give you a certain signal. Same thing with the members of parliament. Look at those who will go in and look at those who will be left out. Because a lot of people that we understand are on the crosshairs of OFAC is on them. The crosshair of OFAC on them, so let me watch. But today, the coalition announced their members of parliament. I'm going to run through it quickly. We aren't talking too much politics today. I got a lot of stuff to go into. For your information, if you haven't heard yet, Mr. Norton, who was the opposition leader, is not going back to parliament. The APNU team will be led by Dr. Terence Campbell. It includes Ureta Fernandes, who was there during the campaign as the prime ministerial candidate for APNU. Dr. Dexter Todd. Jack, they say the mediocre. Dexter Todd is going. Vince Roy Jordan is returning. Ganesh Mai Paul, who was the vice presidential candidate, is returning. Nima Flubes is returning. Coretta McDonald, dynamic woman, is returning. David Hines, Dr. David Hines, Politics 101, is going to, I don't know if he has ever been there before, but he's going. And then there's a Riaz Rupnarayan. I don't know who he is. Sherrod Duncan is going back this time, but he was in the coalition, so he's going back in the coalition because he's now a part of he had left AFC, so he's going back. Then we have Saiku Andrews and Sharma Solomon from Linden, the mayor of Linden. He is going into parliament now too. So it's there on social media, but just thought I'll mention it to you for those of you who have not seen it yet. So the APNU has announced the 12, they got 12 seats, the 12 that is going. The other two parties is the PPP and the WIN. They're waiting. I know what they're waiting for. But they're waiting. So let's see what they are waiting for. One can expect perhaps over the weekend, you're going to hear those who are going. But they look like things are regular. Because for now, you have a president, you have a prime minister and first vice president, and you have the second vice president, Jack Dio. Nobody else, right? Only three you have named, right? So let me bring in CC. Might want to say something on that list. CC, your comments, if you want to, about the 12 members who are going there for opening into Parliament.
They appear to be they appear to be a good choice. Although I expected to hear a certain person, I wouldn't call his name being there. But the other parties, up to now, we had the election, we had the results, and up to now, you can't get a cabinet minister. Right now, I don't think we get any government. All we get a president, a first vice president, and a second vice president. Nobody more. We ain't even get an attorney general. We ain't get a minister of finance. I wonder how this country is being run. Up to now, the results declared, I think, was Thursday night, and up to now, we can't get a minister. They really start on the wrong foot. And if that's an indication of things to come, well, sorry for this country.
Man, we want we cabinet, man. Let it be the cabinet, even though this cabinet can make out a soft food and wouldn't can take them over termites. I'd like to take it over shortly. Well, let me see. Let us see. So we're waiting with bated breath for the announcement of those who are going into the cabinet. You know the strange thing I observed, I don't know if you all observe it to students. Normally, at least on the last occasion and most occasions, one of the first cabinet positions, once you name the prime minister and them vice president, is attorney general right off the bat. They normally name the attorney general. But we are there. Anil, your name Carlin. Anil, your name Carlin. So we know what's going on there. So and on another note, I saw on social media a few days ago, one of our regular students, he's a regular, Brave Prince. The man got married. Brave, I'm vexed you didn't invite me to the wedding, man. You didn't send piece of wedding cake. But congratulations to you on tying the knot, man. Congratulations to you. It's a good thing. Take it from people like CC and myself who have been into it, who have been in it for a long time and are living happily with it. So, yeah, congratulations. I think Brave Prince, show he's on. So you don't miss it. You don't miss the class. So, to you. Now, let me go on to a matter. Let me go on to a matter. We told you all some time ago with this matter with Brave's on. He said thanks, yeah. We told about the magistrate, the issue with the magistrate and the matter that went before the acting chief justice where the magistrate had dismissed a case from Suku. According to what they told us, this is a case being tried, I think it was Diamond Magistrate Court, and the same magistrate apparently operates out of Leguan, and he sat in the Leguan court and dismissed a case in the Diamond court. And we said, that can't work. Well, the Chief Justice said so. Yeah, he wasn't functions in that jurisdiction. And let me tell you all, Guyana now, they have 11 magisterial districts. 11 magisterial districts. Those districts are, you have the Georgetown Magisterial District. So you have several magistrates sitting in the Georgetown Magisterial District, including the chief magistrate. The chief magistrate is the one with power all over the country. So if a matter occurs in any other jurisdiction, any other district, you can take the person before the chief magistrate to hear the magistrate, if it's a plea, you can read the charge, and then transfer the matter to the proper magisterial district. So you have the Georgetown Magisterial District, and in all the different codes they have there, Georgetown Magisterial District. Then you have the Quarantine Magisterial District. Quarantine Magisterial District. Then you have the Borbice Magisterial District. So quarantine is quarantine, and you have Borbice dealing with New Amsterdam and everything, Borbice Magisterial District. Then you have the East Demerara Magisterial District, East Coast. I think it starts from Sparnam and all the way to Maikoni. That is the East Demerara Magisterial District. So it can be Sparnam, Vigilance, Mahaika, and I think Maikoni. I think those are the 4 courts in that magisterial district. Then you have the West Demerara Magisterial District. West Demerara, Vidanoop, Lenora, Wales, West Demerara. I call those because now it's called those courts, but I suspect by now the open court here, the open court here, the open court here, they might have additional courts. Then you have the Essequibo Magisterial District. Essequibo, which is, I think, Coast and Island. Then you have Northwest Magisterial District, Region 1, Northwest Magisterial District. You have the Rupununi Magisterial District. Rupununi Magisterial District. Then you have the West Berbice Magisterial District. You also have the Upper Demerara Magisterial District. And I mentioned it to you some time ago that I recall when I used to be the commander of West Demerara, Region D Division, as it was then. That that district included Upper Demerara. I don't think it was a separate. So cases in Linden or the magistrate had, that was all part of that district. But now you have an Upper Demerara Magisterial District. And then the last Magisterial District that sometime last year, I think it was around October, about a year now, they have the East Bank Demerara Magisterial District with Diamond and whoever else, the East Bank. So there are 11 magisterial districts in Guyana, and that is for your information and education. And as we said, when a magistrate is in a particular district, they have the authority to operate in that district. As far as I know, a magistrate can be in the Demerara Magistrate can be assigned to the East Demerara Magistrate, and then you try in case in some other district. You have to be assigned as well to that district, right? I don't know if there are publications in the Gazette, and I'm not sure of the mechanism, but that is how I remember it. That is how I remember it. Let me bring in CC for him to obviously in that. The Magisterial District, CC, and how they work.
You're correct, you're very elucidative. And going back to the case, the magistrate can be sitting in leg one and then dealing with the matter in the on the East Bank. No way. The magistrate got to deal with the magisterial district, and as you say, is the chief magistrate. We could make the assignment that you're going from the chief magistrate, the magistrate listen to you play, or excuse me, and then send it to somebody else. And they say, so no one magistrate can there in leg one and then passing center or dismissing the case on the East Bank. No way. It's illegal.
One of the students saying here that in those days, Linden cases used to be ordered video because they were always the same. It was West Demerara. I remember that well as a young commander, that the West Demerara Magisterial District included Wismar and Linden. It included those areas. So, but now it's separate, right? Now it is separate. Now let me move on. Let me move on. I forgot to mention Cove and John. When I talk about the East Coast, there was also Cove and John. Thanks, Francis. We also had the Cove and John Magistrate Court in that East Demerara Magisterial District. Now, when the PPP in power, PPPC, piss poor performance continues, right? Bridge collapse in the other street. I'm trying to get a video to show you, so I'm going to deal with it now because the video is not here. I want you to see for yourself. And then the next thing you get is fires. Fire. So yesterday, you had a big fire in Albistown. Almantown, as them boys would say. 5 houses, I think, burned down. And you saw they rush out. You saw they came in out for the thing there for support because Asruddin Mohammed was there very early. And of course, the PPP didn't want to take left. So what happened? They went out. And I saw an article in Newsroom. Newsroom is one of the PPP, fronting for PPP, propaganda thing. They claim that Newsroom, they refer to Robeson-Ben, Juan Ejil, and Vidya Prasad as ministers. They claim that Minister of Home Affairs, Robeson-Ben, the Minister of Ejil, and Minister, they are not ministers. They are not ministers. Ministers have not been appointed from the time the president was sworn in. Right? All them cease to be ministers until they are sworn in again. They ain't got no minister. And I got to compliment Stabrook News because Stabrook News reported it today. And what Stabrook said, Stabrook News is correct in referring to them as ministers in the former administration. When Stabrook News referred to the same people, Robeson, Shoot, and Scoot Ben, Juan Ejil, the bishop, and Vidya Prasad, the lady who went to Double D and said that they must bring sniffer dog and so on. Stabrook News is correct in referring to them as ministers in the former administration. These things mean a lot, you know. You got to be correct with these things. We can refer, Robson is no longer Minister of Home Affairs. Ejil is no longer Minister of Public Works. And Vidya Prasad is no longer Minister of Social Services or wherever she was. They may be reappointed to those posts, but as of now, they don't have any ministers in those positions. So we understand it clearly. The only people that we have, as I said before, you have a president who was sworn in on Sunday. He then swore in Lion Mark Phillips as Prime Minister and first Vice President, and then he swore in Bharat Jagdeo, right? So of the Sugate fame, Bharat Jagdeo swore in as so let me understand it. Y'all got to understand these things, students, right? You got to understand these things, police. But sure, they still get police walking at the house and all them everything, you know, taking advantage of those poor ranks. But they're no longer ministers. They're no longer entitled to that until they are appointed, if at all they are appointed. But Guyana is not a real place. Guyana is not a real place, right? So let me understand it clearly. And again, compliments to Stabrook News for pointing it out. Newsroom, the mouthpiece, run out talking about Minister Ben. Minister Ben, he shoot and he scoot, right? Then you get a bishop, and you get video. They are no longer ministers until such time that the president, they make a decision when they done thing there, they're going to appoint the cabinet and hope Woodans and eat it out, that soft wood cabinet. Because I know Woodans they call them termites. They love soft wood. They love soft wood. So let me get that straight. Let me get CC for making comment to CC. I'm gonna leave that like that. CC?
No, it is clear, you know. As soon as the president is sworn, all the other positions becomes vacant, and it's he has got to make the appointment. So you can't say Minister Ben. Minister Ben, since the president swear, Minister Ben don't scoot away. And you can't get no right now they ain't have any minister. Maybe during the weekend or something we might hear the announcement. But there's a president that's got to appoint. The term finish, and they could be reassigned as minister, or they just stay where they are, stay out.
Or seeing that the man in charge of the fire service has passed his retirement age, and Robeson has shown an interest in being a firefighter. Robeson has shown an interest in being a firefighter, so maybe he can take over from the man at the fire service there. Who knows? You see, he only knows. He directing to put the hose at the source of the fire and all of that. He can turn the new fireman. But be careful, you know. They're going fire next to the building and debris fall upon you. So be careful, Mr. You might be able to scoot. You get too close to the fire, you might not be able to scoot. Yeah. So let me make that straight. Now the next thing here now, this is educational, yeah. So I want y'all share the live. Share the live. We're gonna talk now about this Lola Dahl issue. Lolita Kalinder. We're gonna talk about the issue now. Because they get a lot of development over the past 2 days or day or so. Right? The light one said, "Be short look at Mobutu. I'm an African warrior. It's in my DNA. I'm an African. I don't know whether the short defines you because, you know, see when I get them activity like Emancipation Day, all type of crosses, them BICOs, the BICOs, those who are black in color only, they just dress up with African wear. The president, the vice president, and all them just dress up with African wear. So I don't let it clothes define you because they're men African and they have, as far as I am aware, they have no real love for African, right? And all them who are BICOs, those who are black in color only, BICOs, them just that. They're just black in color. They're just black in color, right? I know it's a compliment, my brother. I know it's a compliment, but I got to respond in a manner, man. Because you might want to see Mark Phillips and James Bond and them wearing a similar shirt and say, maybe them is Mobutu. Them is Mobutu. Them can't be no Mobutu. Them is cross. They're no Mobutu. Them is Crass. Them and Nimakaram, right? As people say in another language. Now, let me say this. The Lola Dahl issue. You know, I think it was last week, Saturday night. She was shot. An attempt murder. They attempted to kill her. In case you all don't know who she is, some social media. I don't know much about her. I see a lot of thing in the at my age, you don't go towards you don't be attracted to that type of feed on social media. But they claimed that she was going home. She stopped her car and we saw the tape where a man walked up and shot her several times. Shot her several times. Right? And the police in the initial release referred to it as a discharging loaded firearm, an alleged discharging loaded firearm. So I said, what the PU twice says is that? In case you all know, so what the PU twice says, that is what Sammy, the instructor, used to say. He never used to course, never, he's one of the few instructors, I never heard Sammy course, but Sammy just said PU twice says, right? So they call it an alleged discharging loaded firearm. So I said, first of all, how it can be alleged, when you come back later and you give details about the incident, and how it can be discharging loading firearm, a clear case of attempt murder. Clear case. However, when later on they put out the wanted bulletin for Paul David Jr., they say it's attempt murder. They say attempt murder, which is the correct classification. All right, so she was in hospital, fighting for her life initially. According to the report we get, luckily, the bullets them didn't hit any major organ or so on. So it would appear, and then they say she is on her way to recovery. First thing I want to say, and to her family, and to the police and all of them, she's recovering because she has given she has made a statement now. I know it's to the police, but I saw it there. I'm going to read it to y'all in a short while, where she has identified the shooter by a call name. She has identified the shooter, right? Now, so she knows who she is, what she's claiming. If somebody attempt to assassinate, to murder her, and she can identify them, and she has survived, you all got to look at that woman's security. You have to look at that woman's security. Lest she end up like Kizarski. You know, y'all know who is Kizarski? Kizarski was a man, something Thomas, his name, I think. And he was alleged that he was involved in this Phantom Squad. And he did get charged of murder. And he taken and he was hospitalized. And he was considered the weak link. They believe he would have screamed, he believe he would have rat on them. And then what happened? He died mysteriously in the public hospital, Josh. So it's there, you must Google it and read it. He died mysteriously in the public hospital, Georgetown Corporation. So please, relatives, police, please take care of that woman. Make sure that she's offered proper security. Yeah, Mark Thomas calls Kizarski. He was a barman somewhere in some place. Yeah, please. Because we will hate to hear that the woman recovering and all of a sudden she relapsed. All of a sudden she relapsed. So that is one. That is one. Now, the next thing is, we learned that Paul Davy, who a wanted bulletin was issued for, turned himself in the company of his lawyer, and he was in custody there. They said they questioned him. But let me read what they said. Let me read what the police said. Police release. This is on the 11th, yesterday. Georgetown, Guyana, September 11, 2025. The police investigation into the shooting of social media personality Lola Kalinder, better known as Lola Dahl, has taken a dramatic turn as investigators now say they have found no evidence linking Paul David Jr. called Randell to the crime. A source close to the case told HGP 19 News that detectives verified Davy's alibi, confirming that he was at home at the time of the shooting. moving between his residence and the home of his child mother. His attorney, Sayed Dujan, confirmed that his client was questioned extensively in police custody and even accompanied investigators to his home, where they assisted in retrieving footage to corroborate his story. Dujan said his client has since been released on $1 million bail. Meanwhile, the fourth suspect held in connection with the case has also been released, this time on $500,000 bail with strict reporting conditions. Kalinder, who was shot multiple times outside a home in Texas Square, East Rivelle, on the night of September the 6th, remains hospitalized but is said to be improving. Police confirmed that they have already been able to interview her about the attack. The shooting stunned Georgetown and sparked an outpouring of support online for the flamboyant entertainer. But with both suspects now out on bail and investigators still unable to establish a clear motive or culprit, questions remain about who, quote, targeted Lola Dahl, and why. That is what the police release said yesterday. The police release. So basically, what the police are telling us is that the man gave an alibi that at the time of the shooting, he been home, right? Between he and the child mother where they go in there. He carried them to show them footage and so on that he been there, and the police seems to want to suggest to us that he could not be linked to the crime. That is what you all suggesting. But let me tell you all, and this is not about the individual, right? I don't know the individual. I'm dealing with facts. My training tells me that a person can be connected to a crime in 4 ways. Policemen, let me pause there. Y'all go and pull up the thing, 4 ways. Let me get my notes. A person can be committed or be connected to a crime in 4 ways. I spoke about it here before. They say principal in the 1st degree, principal in the 2nd degree, accessory before the fact, accessory after the fact. 4 ways a person can be connected to a crime. We're teaching today, share the life, share, especially for them police, share. A person can be connected to a crime in 4 ways. That is my teaching. A principal in the 1st degree, a principal in the 2nd degree, an accessory before the fact, an accessory after the fact. Let us sink in. I can break it down further. See, he can come in as an old headmaster. He can come in and he can talk about it. Hear what they say? They say based on legal principles, a person can be connected to a crime in 4 primary ways, evolving from older common law into modern statutes. Hear what it says. A principal. A principal is the person who directly commits the act, known as actus reus. Every crime must have at least one principal. For example, if John is the one who pulls the trigger to shoot someone, he is the principal, right? Accomplice. An accomplice or accessory before the fact is in all the legal terminology is a person who assists, aids, and encourages the commission of a crime. Key characteristics of an accomplice include they often assist in planning or preparing for the crime. They are typically present when the crime is committed, though in some jurisdictions that is not a requirement. They can face the same penalties as the principal offender for the same charges. For example, if Rob helps John to plan a shooting and waits in a getaway car, he is an accomplice. Then you get accessory after the fact. An accessory after the fact is the person who helps a criminal avoid detection, arrest, or punishment after the crime has been completed. Unlike an accomplice, they are not involved in the commission of the crime itself. Requirements for an accessory after the fact include they must know that a crime was committed by the person they are helping. They must provide assistance with the specific intent of helping the person escape justice. This is typically a separate, less severe offense than the underlying crime. For example, if a friend hides the murderer in their house after the crime to help them evade arrest, the friend would be an accessory after the fact. Then you have conspirator. A conspirator is a person who agrees with one or more other individuals to commit an unlawful act. The agreement to commit the crime itself is a separate offense, and the conspirator can be held liable even if the planned crime is never carried out. Key points of a criminal conspiracy include agreement. Two or more people must form an agreement to commit a crime. Intent. The conspirators must have a specific intent to agree and to carry out the underlying crime. And the last one here, it must be an overt act. In some jurisdictions, at least one co-conspirator must perform an overt act in furtherance of the agreement. This act does not have to be criminal in itself. So we talk about principal in the first degree. Now, who is a principal in the second degree? Listen carefully, student. Take out your notebook, make note, share the live. Share the live, make note. A principal in the second degree is a criminal law term for someone someone present at the crime who aids, abets, encourages the primary perpetrator, the principal in the first degree, but does not commit the act themselves. They are effectively accomplices who participate in the offense at the scene, with examples including a lookout or a getaway driver, and are typically held to the same level of liability as a principal in the first degree. Key characteristics. A principal in the second degree must be present at the commission of the crime, either physically or constructively. Aid and abet. They must have helped, encouraged, or supported the commission of the crime by the principal in the first degree. Liability. In most jurisdictions, a principal in the second degree is held to the same criminal liability as the principal in the first degree, facing similar sentences. The lookout. Someone standing guard outside a building to alert the actual thief of any approaching danger is a principal in the second degree. The getaway driver. A person who waits in a car to drive the robber away from the scene of the crime, even if they don't enter the building, can be classified as a principal in the second degree. Providing tools. If someone provides weapons or tools to another person with the intent to facilitate a crime, and they are present at the scene while the crime is committed, they can be considered a principal in the second degree. Distinction from other parties. Principal in the first degree. The principal in the first degree is the actual perpetrator who commits the act. Accessory before the fact, someone who assists and encourages the crime but is not present at the time and place of the crime. Accessory after the fact, someone who helps an already convicted offender to escape arrest punishment but did not participate in the original crime. So I hope the police, they make note about these four elements or the four ways a person can be connected with a crime, and maybe they say wheel and come again. So the fact that someone presented an alibi does not mean that a person did not participate in the crime. He might not. The person is not going to be a principal in the first degree. He's not going to be a principal in the second degree either, because again, for your information education, a principal in the first degree is the one who actually committed the crime, right? A principal in the second degree is one who deep on the crime scene. He didn't actually commit the crime, but he deep out there. If it's a robbery, he driving the car. He's a watch out principal in the second degree. But they get accessory before the fact. So if you sit down and you plan a crime, you are an accessory before. You have to be there when the crime is being committed, but you're an accessory. And if you want accessory after, if you know a crime has been committed and you help to person to avoid arrest or hide them or so on, then you're an accessory after the fact. And the crime chief is a lawyer. I hope he went to school that the day when those things were being taught. I have more to say on it, but let me bring in Mr. Conway. I'm sure he has a lot more to say too on this same thing. CC, go ahead. I know you have a lot to say, man. Take some button.
Okay, you principal in the first degree, second degree, accessory before and after. And not because somebody gives an alibi that you were elsewhere when the crime was committed, that you didn't play any part. Sometimes you play a major part. Sometimes you give the man the gun. Sometimes you provide the ammunition if it's a shooting thing. And the the investigation has got to be properly done. And you got to look at all angles. Principal in the first degree, the second degree, accessory before and accessory after. You might not be do the acting thing, but as you mentioned, Paul, you participated. You were a lookout. You provide cash. Sometimes you pay the man for going to do the thing and all kind of stuff. You did something in it there. Something in it. And then if you may look forward in the same matter, I ain't hear nothing but ballistics. Nothing but ballistics. Remember they had that incident where no shooting incident where somebody discharged 17 rounds. They found spent shells. This one you hear but no spent shells. Did they process the scene? Did they look for spent shells? And did they check and see whether the thing match? Why, according to the ballistic test that we do here, is the same firearm used that in this instance and the other instance that we had there. The ballistics could tell you something, and we have some good ballistic experts, who could find fragment of a bullet, and say, hey, this gun that we have here, this gun that the security use, is the gun that discharged this wrong. So it calls for a lot of forensic investigation. Did they check for fingerprints? Did they check for thumb prints and all kind of thing? Palm prints? Did they check, or they don't check for footprints and them kind of thing there? I don't know. This thing got, and then remember the victim is saying that that she had cameras and she saw people persons who were in a play field not too far from her, spying, checking and all and them kind of thing. So you release the guy and you say that he's up on $1 million bail. I wonder if it's another Dharam Lal, because they said Dharam Lal been on $1 million bail, but no money was lodged. So I wonder if the general receipt book will show that he debt on $1 million bail. I wonder if the collector's cash book statement going to say he debt on $1 million bail. I wonder if the bail book going to say he debt on $1 million bail. I wonder if the diary going to say something. I wonder if the prisoner's charge sheet going to say something. I wonder if the daily cash composition book will say things. Those are financial records. And it's part of training that when money come in, you issue a general receipt. And then you get passed through the collector's cash book statement, entries in the bail book, entries in the diary, entries in the prisoner's charge sheet will say place on so much dollars cash bail, daily cash composition book. And what about the recognizance? What did the recognizance say? Did the grant say place on $1 million but no money lodged? There are so many things that they got to deal with, But equally important is forensic. They got a girl who studied forensic science, 4 years, I think, in Russia, did well, and she come back and she did in training, which she had no training for. I don't know what the forensic science unit is doing. I don't know what the forensic lab is doing. I can't recall when last I heard anything from the forensic lab. I know if it's a white elephant or a blue elephant. I ain't even the color of it, but it's some kind of elephant. You know, you ain't hearing anything about the forensic science unit there. And I watch where they put it at the back of the University of Guyana, way back, away from the university at the back. Perhaps it's strategic there, you know. So the investigation ought to be properly done. And as we say, as we say, principal in the first degree, principal in the second degree, accessory before and accessory after.
Yeah, and I mean, there are certain things that will attract my attention. First of all, the name Paul Davy Jr. put out bulletin, and I asked the question, they put out bulletin, because that has become a practice now. No effort made to contact the person, and they just put out a wanted bulletin. So many times people have said that the first time they knew that the police wanted them is when they see the wanted bulletin. The man turned himself in. All right. They named me. Then we learned that someone else was arrested, an unnamed person. Thing regular. The unnamed person was arrested and put on $500,000 bail. Who is he? Who is this person? I don't recall them stating who is this person that was arrested and placed on $500,000 bail too. I don't understand what's going on there, right? And let me tell you further, because they have here in today's, it's today, yeah, Lola Dahl breaks silence, says that she saw the attacker. She breaks the silence and she said that she saw the attacker. Hear what it says. After being hospitalized for almost a week, Lola Kalinder broke her silence in a video last night and identified our alleged shooter as Wani. Let me read that back. After being hospitalized for almost 1 week, Lola Kalinder broke her silence in a video last night and identified our alleged shooter as Wani. Kalinder recounted seeing the man who attempted to take her life and expressed relief that no bullet struck her in the head. Calling for justice, Kalinder criticized the Guyana Police Force for their lack of investigations. Quote, I now catch myself. Y'all know I'm a fighter, right? Y'all know this ain't going down like that. But I saw the person who tried to take my life. Yes, I saw him. And I'm happy that no bullet went to my head and to kill me. I need justice. I need justice from the Guyana Police Force. They are not looking into nothing. End of quote. Wani was the person Kalinder said, adding that she looked him in the eyes as she watched him shoot and then walk away. She pleaded with the public for assistance in ensuring the suspect is arrested and locked away. Quote, I watched him shoot. I watched him walk off. Y'all please help me get him arrested and locked away. End the quote, she pleaded. Initially, police had arrested two suspects, Paul Davy and another man, both of whom were released on station bail. Here this here now, here. Initially, police had arrested two suspects, Paul Davy Jr. and another man, both of whom were released on station bail. Kalinder was shot several times last Saturday, blah, 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 blah. This other man ain't getting him. But here you have a case, and based on the time sequence, it would appear that Lolita Kalinder, Lola Dahl, has made a statement after these persons were released. Because they said a statement made last night. That is what the article is saying. She made a statement last night. So who is Wanzi? Who is this person? Is he this unknown person who was arrested? If that is the case, then one would expect that he is going to be arrested, re-arrested. And if it wasn't him that was arrested, one would expect now that they have this thing. You got to go and get the person who whose name is now being called. Whose name, and you know, them thing they say when we talk about policing. Because once a person, I hope they went, let me say this, CC. I hope they went now since this release and got a detailed statement from Lola Kalinder. Because normal policing, which is not normal in Ghana any longer, from the time she said that she saw the person and she called a name, you have to get a statement, a detailed statement from her. How you know this person? How do you know this person you called? How long you know he? And those will be important pieces of this puzzle. But oh Lord, we have some people now, them think they say, fly over there. You got to get a proper statement from her. I hope that between the time she made that release and made that statement, it's published in Stabrook News. So they must have seen it. They must have heard of it. And if they got to go and get a proper statement from her now. One of the main things, how you know is he? How long have you known him? How long did you get to see him? All of those things will come out there at the thing. All got to come out. Basic investigation techniques. And again, yes, I made the point before. I don't know if you heard the light one, that she needs to be protected. She needs to be protected because she has named her assailant. Police and the family members and police need to make sure that she is properly protected. Because she can end up, or I hope, I'm not saying this, but she can end up like Kizerski. Because now is a case where she said she know who shoots you. That is evidence. She know who shoots you. And you know, the sad part of it, let me tell you, y'all could remember not so long ago, I put in the hour to do some research. I'm doing police work for the police, man. I'm doing police work for the police. I put up the wrong thing here. Hold on. Remember, not so long ago, we had a report. This was October last year. 7 suspects in Main Street abduction case granted bail. Y'all remember that? Several suspects in Main Street abduction case granted bail. That is where they abducted Joshua David, called Brick. Right? Wanted bulletin and police make a whole set of thing and they jump around. Up to now, that man has not been found. And he has to be presumed dead. He has to be presumed dead. Right? So here what happens here. I'm going to read this one. And there, to me, there's a connection. I hope that the police can see the connection. The 7 men who are the main suspect in the abduction of Joshua David appeared yesterday at the Georgetown Magistrate Court where they were granted bail. Wayne Barker, 34, of Lot G Norton Street Lodge, Georgetown. Aaron Allen, called Cats, 26 of Lot 9 West Repentance, Georgetown. Davante Mars, called Shaki, 21, of Middle Road, the Penitence. Damian Barlow, called Dangles, 32, Norton Street, Watermanville. And Dwayne Griffith, called Sheik, of William Street, Kitty, Georgetown, appeared before acting chief magistrate, where they were jointly charged with abducting the abduction of Joshua David, called Bricks, which occurred on September the 26th on Main Street, Georgetown. They were not required to enter plea. The prosecutor inspector objected to bail on the grounds that the police had not received information. The police had received information that the victim was murdered and the search for the body was ongoing. The prosecutor also told the magistrate that the police have CCTV footage that captured the accused in the commission of the crime and also eyewitnesses to the crime. However, the magistrate overruled the prosecutor's submission, citing that the crime was a bailable offense under the Act and that the police have not found the victim's body. The magistrate subsequently granted $500,000 bail each with the condition that they report to every Friday between 8 and 16 hours to the DDO, that is the Divisional Detective Officer or Station Sergeant at Brickdown Police Station. The case was postponed to November 13. Meanwhile, Osafo Peters and Alpha Poole, who appeared before for the second time, on their first appearance last Friday, they were charged with abduction contrary to Section 4 of the Kidnapping Act and remanded to prison. The magistrate yesterday threw out those charges, and the duo was jointly charged with the above-mentioned 5 suspects. and were also placed on $500,000 bail each. According to the attorney, Everton Singlami, it was a task of the police to provide the evidence against his clients, and he emphasized that they were not seen in the video footage that is circulating on social media. The magistrate then requested that the video be played for clarity, but the court staff experienced technical difficulties and the video could not be played. Lami Singh maintained that his clients are innocent. The other 5 suspects were represented by attorney at law Damian De Silva and Saijan Dujan. As part of the investigation, the police search team on Tuesday ventured into the Anle Backlands on the east coast of Damar, but came up empty-handed. Officers from Regional Division 4A and 4C had also searched the Boxon Backlands without success. The abduction of David was captured on camera by an eyewitness in a vehicle, who then forwarded the video to reporters on Monday. In the video, 5 men could be seen pushing David across Main Street as he attempted to fight them off. It is unclear why city security cameras did not pick up the car after it moved off from Main Street. A group of about 70 persons gathered in front of New Thriving Restaurant on Main Street on October the 3rd in a candlelight vigil and issued a call for David's safe return. A lot to unpack there. Wonder if any one of these persons involved in this abduction is one of the persons that Lola Dahl said she identified as her assailant. I wonder. I don't know them. I wonder. Are the police investigating that angle? This case, this abduction case, I said it and I'm saying it again. Persons that are charged abducting someone, the person who is abducted is not found. They are charged with abduction. Not found, right? The prosecution applied for bail to be refused. Magistrate said, no, put them on bail. Guyana cannot be a real place. Magistrate said the charge is a bailable one, the offense is a bailable, which I agree. That is what the law said. But given the circumstances, abduction and the person has not been found, you have to assume the worst. You have to assume the worst. And after all these months, from September to now, 1 year, Mr. Crime Chief, can you not assume that this person is dead? Check the law. If you went to school, law school that day, check it there, check it. You ain't gotta wait no 7 years and all those type of things. Check the law. Check the law. And the reason why I read that is because the question should be pursued as to whether any one of those persons who were involved in that abduction is the person that Lola Dahl said shooting, because I understand from my investigation that there are links to all of these people. There are links, and the police know about the links. The police know about the links. And coming back to the first part of this thing we say, the fact that someone provided an alibi in a case like this doesn't mean that they were not involved. They might not have been the principal in the first degree. They might not have been the principal in the second degree. But you are going to read about accessory before and accessory after the fact. Especially in this case, read about accessory before the fact. Read that. And if you read and you comprehend, you might understand where your investigation should go. Read that. Read that. Let me bring in Mr. Conway to talk about this matter some more. See?
Like you, I wonder if police don't look at what we call modus operandi, the way criminals operate, and they don't check. She gave a name. That name isn't within the police domain. Call a name. And by now they couldn't have gotten some description from her and put up a wanted bulletin or something. I sure they know the name of the person that she mentioned. I am most certain that guy is well known, and the police must have gotten records of him. But the person that they arrested in the first place and say that they sent him on $1 million bail like that, Ramlal. As you mentioned, Paul, he might not, I'm not saying doing it, might not be the principal in the first degree. Well, yes, could be. I'm not saying it. We're going to look at all angles. Principal in the second degree, persons who organize it, persons who assist in it. There are so many things that I got to do investigation. We say backtrack, go back and check back the thing. Certain criminals always got to talk about Myconi. Sometimes when crime is committed, people like Smith, you say, go, but y'all going to bring in Limpy. And Limpy say, man, bring in the people, the modus. You got to know people modus, how they operate. But no, them are operating so. Them are doing no investigation. And sometimes it depends who is the suspect. Who is the suspect? Certain suspect they not touch. Because them and the suspect, all right. Them and the suspect, all right. So they gotta do more meticulous investigation. And I'm saying forensic. I'm saying ballistic. They have to get spent shells. And assure with them ballistic experts when they get it, who could find a piece of fragment and say, hey, this gun that the security guard used, this is the gun, fire half the rounds. They will find out on the scene. And investigation has got to be meticulous. You got to be able to trace things. It's painstaking. It's painstaking. And I know what is the nature of the interview with Lolo. I know what was the nature of the interview. If it's just a little cosmetic thing. And then again, this state she was in, I don't know. I don't know, but for me, it calls for more meticulous and painstaking investigation. And she called the name got for them police circles. It got to them police circles. And if police get proper intelligence, they're gonna know is who. And they're gonna be able to at least make an arrest and do proper investigation.
Yeah, some of the students are saying here that the name that was called, the person turned themselves into the police. They're saying it here on the chat that the person, Wani or Wanzi or whatever the person name, they're saying that that person turned themselves into the police. So let me see what can happen. Because, person turned himself in, he ain't going to admit to nothing. He's not going to admit. I hope they look for alibi and all this everything now. He's not going to admit. So you have a statement. I hope by now you have a proper statement from her as to how she know this body and all that. Because based on what she said in the thing that she saw him, she looked at him. She know he look at him. That's what she said. She looked at him. He was near close up. She looked at him. And that will provide you with a lot of evidence to move forward on. So let's see where this will go. Because like in the elections that were just concluded, people saying who get money, get bargain. That is what we have, right? Who get money, get bargain, right? Right. So let me see where that will go. And again, family members, police, yeah, please protect that woman. Please protect that woman. And with the same matter, I saw the tape. Something I don't show. I just see a lot of things. I just there looking at social media. That lady, when she was shot and killed, somebody in the room there took out a video of her in the emergency room. Somebody took out a video, and I noted that the hospital authorities have called in the police. And I think they're saying that the police arrest somebody in this investigation. That's what we're saying. This is not a real place. Woman attempt assassination, I would call it. She's there at the stage. You don't know if she can death. She's fighting for her life. And some unscrupulous person thought it best to take out a video of what was going on there, and not only take it out, circulate it, send it out. So I hope that the police do a proper investigation, and whoever was responsible should face the full brunt of the law. Full. Whatever maximum sentence, whatever charge, show the whole book at that person. Show the whole book at them, man. Because that has been a trend now. But this is even worse than what happened before. On the road, somebody gets involved in an accident. Some people go into rescue, and some stand up. They turn photo, take out her. They're taking out photo. They're taking out video. Person fighting for their life. They don't go to assist. That is the culture that we are in now. So in this case, this real egregious case, this woman attempt murder, and lying there, some staff fighting with her, and somebody saw it best at that stage to take out a video. Somebody saw it best to take out a video of her and put it on social media. All the human values, all that is good, have gone through the window. Gone. For what? For what reason? You put it there for what reason? That's to show that you've been out there. That's to show that you can expose. It is real sickening. Real sickening. Again, I say, right? Because I don't think that with modern technology and so on, it can be so difficult. You ought to have known who are the people been in the room at the time. And when you look at the video, you will see that it could not have been some, because some were busy trying to attend to the patient. So you ought to be able to narrow down who the culprit is very easily. And once you do that, remember in the Adriana Young case, a woman, private conversation, said she'd been there and so on. And you see what happened to the woman? They arrested, they charged her for inciting terrorism and all that, I think, remand she and all them everything. They do all of that in that case. Let's look to see how this one will go. Let me bring in CC to his comments on this. This one. No, but CC, the thing, I was really upset first when I saw the video. It came out, you got video, and then you realize it's somebody right there. Who would have been there? I don't know that would have got members of the public there at that time when they were treating this woman initially there. Would members of the public have had access to the area? I don't know. So this investigation should not be that difficult for the police, CC.
That's true. And then they were debarring persons, only 2 persons at a time. And I saw a video, very interesting, where they showed a photograph of a woman who attempted to go and see the victim, and somebody trying to compare the photograph with one of the suspects, trying to compare the resemblance with one of the suspects, So, and you're talking about anything could happen. Anything could happen. People could be compromised. People will be compromised. Approaches could be made to hurry to change your story, and all sort of things. Therefore, the police got to really act swiftly. And I agree, that the person who took out that photograph, the recordings should be dealt with swiftly, just as how they dealt with the nurse. Just like how they dealt with the nurse, they should deal sternly and swiftly with that person, and the person said they send it to the ex boyfriend or some nonsense like that. So they know who really put it on the social media. But in the first place, it should have never been taken out. But then the trend is, we see with the police, a police getting beat up, and another one with a camera taking out photograph. Police getting beat up, and another one with a camera taking a photograph instead of their assisting us. So there's what going on there. But it's a person seriously injured, and you go in and take out the photograph, listen to the recordings, and then it up on social media. Those things shouldn't be allowed to go down lightly like that. Well, it's up to the police. And let's see what the police will do.
Well, let me say this. You know, they're gonna, as you right, you pointed out a while ago. Somebody might say, "Well, oh, I did not post it and so on." But why did you take it out? The mere taking out of that picture should be an offense of that video. The mere recording of that video in those circumstances should be a criminal offense. Person fighting for their life, you're getting on video, taking out video, and then somehow the video ends up on the social media. So even if you did not put it on the social media, it should have never been taken out. It should have never been taken out. Because you talk about patient privacy, and yeah, my brother, all this type of thing. And again, I want to know, and I mean, they got to examine the whole system there, because I don't know that in a situation like that, the public would have had access to that area. And if it is that the public had access to that area at that time, that ought to be reviewed. That ought to be reviewed. Only the medical personnel should have had access to that at that time. Right? Only the medical personnel. So, you know, it's real sad. It's real sad. Man, humanity to man. That is not going on. No one fighting with your life. They just try to kill you. And again, my prayers, my thoughts and prayers are with her. And I pray for our continued recovery, speedy recovery. I am praying for our speedy recovery. Right? Let me move on. You know, I saw something, I think it was yesterday. Yesterday. Yeah, share the life, man. Share the life. Share the life. We ain't done yet. It's Friday afternoon. Friday afternoon. We ain't done yet. I saw a release. It says a La Penitence businessman nabbed with unlicensed firearm and ammunition. Also found to be in possession of 2,267 grams of narcotics. Police act, hear the story. You're gonna know why. You listen carefully, you're gonna know why I'm talking about it. Police acted on information received around 18:23 hours yesterday, the 9th of September 2025, went to Vicinity Road in the vicinity of Square of the Revolution, where they intercepted a black Honda vessel vehicle with registration number PHA 2167, PAH 2167, which is owned and at the time driven by Franz Paul. Franz Paul, a 39-year-old businessman of Middle Road, La Penitence. Paul was a lone occupant in the vehicle. The ranks identified themselves to Paul and told him that they were in receipt of information that he had narcotics, arms, and ammunition in his possession. The ranks then asked Paul to step out of the vehicle, and he complied. A search was then conducted on his person, and a .22 pistol with a magazine containing 2 live .22 rounds of ammunition was found in his pants pocket. The serial number of the pistol was difficult to recognize. Paul was asked if he's a licensed owner of a firearm, and he said no. He was told of the offense committed, arrested, and cautioned. The ranks then searched the vehicle in Paul's presence, and they found one large garbage bag on the floor, being behind the front passenger seat, with 2 bulky parcels wrapped in transparent plastic tape containing a quantity of leaves, seeds, and stems suspected to be cannabis. Paul was told of the offense committed and cautioned. He was then escorted to the Rivelle police station along with the suspected narcotics, firearm, ammunition, and the vehicle, where the vehicle was photographed and lodged. The suspected firearm was processed for latent fingerprints, but none were found. The firearm and ammunition were lodged, sealed, and lodged to be taken to the ballistics section for examination. The suspected narcotics weighed amounted to 2,267 grams. Paul remains in custody pending charges. Franz Paul, I remember that name very well. And what it didn't say, that Franz Paul was a police officer, was a cadet officer. I'm going to tell you all the story. Franz Paul was a police officer, right? Cadet officer. And they tell you here, a note, when they step out the vehicle, they find, they search a conducting imposter 22 pistol, not a suspected pistol. They're improving. A 22 pistol with magazine containing 2 live 22 rounds, not suspected ammunition. Perhaps they're improving, right? Not improving. So yes, Franz Paul, former cadet officer. Let me read out this story here. And then I'm gonna go into it some more. Right? Let me continue to go into it. This is June 2019, I think it was. Interdicted cadet officer Franz Paul, who was charged with allegedly shooting a 15-year-old boy in the mouth and threatening to shoot his reputed wife with an unlicensed gun, had his appointment recently revoked by the Police Service Commission. According to well-placed sources, due to the revocation, which took effect from June 1, Paul now holds the rank of constable. Starbrook Jews understand that the commission began looking at the disciplinary matter against Paul earlier this year. The then 15-year-old Alex Griffith was shot in the mouth on April the 30th, 2014, and Paul was charged 2 months later. At the time of the shooting, Paul was said to have been personally investigating a robbery committed on his sister. Griffith, who the police believe was a witness to the robbery, was picked up for questioning. Griffith had alleged that Paul forced him from the police vehicle and ordered him to lie on the ground, where in an effort to glean information, he played Russian roulette. Griffith was allegedly shot in the mouth and subsequently dropped off at the hospital by ranks, who left shortly after. In May last year, the case against Paul was withdrawn by the DPP, they didn't say by DPP, after an agreement by the accused to pay a total of $2 million in compensation to the youth. The money the court was told would be paid over a period of time. Several months later, in August 2018, Paul again found himself before the court, this time for allegedly threatening to shoot his reputed wife, Rachel Carew, with an unlicensed firearm during a misunderstanding at the Alexander Village home. He was remanded to prison on August the 23rd after threatening behavior and firearm charges were read to him. It is unclear if this matter is still before the court. It is unclear what has become of that matter. And I can tell you all why I'm talking about it, because this matter, Paul, is an indication of this broken cadet system in the Ghana Police Force. I'm going to talk about it. Broken cadet system. As we read there just now, back in sometime, thinking of 2014 or something like that, he was a cadet officer in the Ghana Police Force, right? From constable to cadet. His sister was a victim of some robbery or something like that. He wasn't stationed in Georgetown, stationed somewhere, I think on the East Coast somewhere there. Found himself in Georgetown looking for suspects in his sister's robbery. They arrested this youth man, Griffith, and in an attempt to extract information, the man put the revolver in this youth man's mouth and playing Russian roulette. Y'all know what is Russian roulette? A revolver generally carries 6 cylinders. 6. They call them 6 shooter. A Russian roulette is where you empty the chambers, the cylinders, you put one round in, you spin the cylinder. So you don't know which one, when you squeeze the trigger, is going to fire. Because it's 1 in 5. That is the probability. 1 in 6. Probability 1 in 6. So you put it, you squeeze, click. But on this occasion, the loaded chamber fell under the armor. So when he squeezed the trigger, bottom, the gun go off, shoot the youth man in the mouth. Luckily, the man did not die. He was charged. He was charged with that matter. And at some stage, he offered compensation, right? The DPP, he offered compensation of $2 million, and the DPP then decided to withdraw the charge against Franz Paul. Of course, once he was charged, he was interdicted from duty, pending the outcome of the charge, right? All right. I remember looking into that matter because I felt that a matter like that, this man should not be a police officer. That was my feeling. He should not be a police officer. I had a discussion with people from the Attorney General's chamber, right? Let me understand. I had a discussion with them about the same matter. You know what I said? The fact that that Paul wasn't convicted. Here it is, something wrong with the system. He shoot this man under certain circumstances that I outlined before. There before the court, he paid compensation. So I was advised that because he compensated the victim, he was not convicted, and therefore he should not be dismissed. I wasn't in agreement with that, but I'm a man, I just follow the law. But I could tell you, he was not reinstated at the time. And while he was out there interdicted, the second thing now, he reputed the wife, he had illegal gun, and he threatened her with illegal gun. Charge again. This time with illegal possession of firearm and threatening the thing. They said he was remanded to prison. We don't know what happened to the case. So now again, police got there to find the illegal gun again, right? Illegal gun. This man was a police officer. I want to know what there's a system to identify these people, to put them in cadet. We're going to talk about it. I'm going to talk about it. But that is the background to this man who they found. And it looked like police conveniently left out that he's a former member of the force. And let me say this. This Franz Paul issue with officers who were cadet and so on committing themselves, right? It's not an isolated case. It is not an isolated case, right? And I believe something is wrong with the entire process. And we're going to talk about the process in a short while. But I'm bringing CC to talk about the background if I forget anything, because CC is familiar with this case as well. CC, Franz Paul at it again.
Very familiar.
Russian roulette, then unlawful possession of firearm with the reputed wife, now unlawful possession of firearm again, and drugs. Let me hear your take on it.
Yeah, Russian roulette, he's a good man. Several instances, he an unlawful possession and threatening behavior. And I know for some strange reason they didn't say he was a police officer. But I know him well, and I know the matters well what you're talking about, Paul. I know the matters very, very well. And we're going to talk about the police cadet officers situation there. But I know the matter well, right? And the facts that you narrated here are the facts in issue.
Let me talk about the system. As I've said, Franz Paul is evidence, as I said, not an isolated case, that something is wrong with the police cadet officer system. These people are selected to be cadet officers, and I don't know what type check, if proper checks are done with the background, the temperament. You have had so many cadet officers who have fallen by the wayside, who have committed crimes, serious crimes, and have fallen by the wayside. And I could talk about the cadet system. When I was at the Staff College in the UK in 1994, I did my research at the police cadet system. And I made analysis and recommendations. The cadet system in the Guyana Police Force came into being in 1958. The first cadets were what we call external cadets, right? Skip Roberts, Norman McLean, and Cecil Glasgow. They were the three from QC into the police force, and then they had a program for them to be trained overseas. They were bright. Of course, they were QC people. Norman McLean, Skip Roberts, and Cecil Glasgow. Now over Glasgow, Cecil, used to call you Satan. Cecil Glasgow. They were the first 3 cadets in 1958. Right? All right. That another controversy. Right? Then after that, they brought in other cadets came in, OAB, Houston, and some others came in, external. So when the cadet scheme started first, it was people external to the police force, bright people, QC and all them people, they brought them, they went through a proper program of training, they became, including overseas training, and they were appointed. They had big debate in the House of Assembly or whatever you call it at that time because they argued, Police Association, the Police Federation, as it was then called, argued that it was unfair, that you had quality people within the force and they were disadvantaged by bringing in people from outside to make them officer and so on. And then the thing changed. So it was no longer external cadets. They decide now on internal people who are already in the force. They're going to make them cadet. Like Barker, 5561 Barker. Balan Ragabir, can be number 50 something Ragabir. The man from Special Branch, Mentor, right? They all became, I think, the first set of internal cadet officers. In other words, and the Standing Order 22 speaks to the process of internal cadet officers. Then after them, you had Derek Thompson. There was a long pause, and then Derek Thompson became cadet officer as well. And Derek Thompson was in the late 60s, I think. Can't remember the exact year now. But then it was a long time until 1978 when they made cadet, again, internal cadets, because at that stage, you had the external and then you had the internal. But after the initial people from the external, Larry Lewis, Skip Roberts, Nama McLean, Cecil Glasgow, Ohab, Houston, and them, never brought anybody from external. They started to pull people from within. Program set out. You go to stations, the experience, you come around, they got a report, and there was a proper, the system is still there, we are not following the system, right? Then, as I said, in 1978, they had what was then the largest badge of cadet. Henry Green, Sidney Bombry, Primo, Rajkumar, Jetu, a whole set of people, about 8 of them became cadet officers. And here what they did, as required by the Standing Order. They were identified because of their academic qualifications and so on. Then they were promoted to corporal. Rampasad, 7045 Rampasad was one to identified, promoted to corporal. They were then made to work at several stations around the country where they were assessed and mentored. And then at the end of a period, I think it was about 2 years or so, then they were made cadet officers. They were made cadet officers. But they all had the experience because the system allowed them to go around and get proper experience. Then in 1980, a decision was taken for the policemen to be sent on the standard military officers course, SMOC, run by the GDF. But even then, when they selected people, they selected those persons who had proper policing experience. The first set of people selected, 84-16 Felix, 75, I think 83 Donald Pearson, 84-87 Basil, and Danny. Danny was 70 something Danny, right? They were sent there. I know Basil and Danny did not make it, but Felix and Pearson made it to the end. But those people, Felix was a sergeant with tremendous policing experience. Pearson was a sergeant in Borbies, tremendous policing experience. They knew policing work. So when they came back as officers, they were well grounded. And then it continued in that manner. Larry George, Rickford Chivretan, this guy, Jamir, people who were subordinate officers and grounded in the force were sent in the SMOC. Then all of a sudden, people get the idea that they're going to send people who ain't even ready yet, constables. And then what started to break, what I believe, and this is my view, this thing went awry, broke down, when Jack Dio, and I'm saying this as a fact, Jack Dio Green was a commissioner. I was there, can't remember what post I had at the time. Came back and said, the president said, Jack Dio was president. He wanted 50 cadets. 50 persons was identified in the police force as cadet officers sent for training. 50. So in order to get the 50, right? Well, some of us voiced our concern about it. Because when you promote all them people as cadet officers, the system that existed then, you're killing the people who are inspectors, the next lower rank. Because the cadet officers don't turn ASP, and therefore you are stifling the people them who are inspectors. And they went into the cradle, training school. People who get 2 months service, 3 months service, and get the 5 subjects were identified and sent on this course. And when they came back from the course, a course where they learned nothing about policing. It's a military course. Nothing about policing. They come back and you're promoted to officer in the police force. They were promoted to officer in the police force. Back in the day, those people who were identified, as I said, they were already grounded, subordinate officers. They were made to do courses like prosecutor's course, station sergeant course, and they knew what was going on. But you had a situation now where, because the president said you want 50 cadets, they go into the cradle, which is the college, bring them out. And if they were to do an assessment all these years after, they're going to see how these people just fell away. Because they weren't grounded in policing, they come back, they don't know policing, they don't get enough authority, and they bark on the thing and so on. That program, and I criticized it when I did the assessment, and I said that it is a waste of time for a year for send people to the GDF where they don't learn anything about policing. Then they come back and you make them officer. I said that you should revert to the internal cadet scheme where you are going to make sure that you identify them, promote them corporal, assess them, put them to station, people to mentor them and so on. They do all the courses, station sergeant course, prosecutor's course, and the other courses and so on. So by the time you appoint them cadet officer 2 years after they were appointed, they were identified, they were well grounded. They were well grounded. But then the system you get, sometimes they send them to cadet, sometimes they make them internal, because they have still continued with internal cadets, They still continue over the years with internal cadets. They identify people. I don't know what the criteria they use, right? And that is it. That is a problem. And if they really want to, as Jacques Dio said, they want to strengthen the middle management and so on, you got to look at that. Because they get to the stage now where, as one would come to expect, the process is controlled, government involved in them again. They determine who must go, and they send people for this man cadet, make this man cadet, send them for the course and all these other things. So you got people, for example, like the same IMNATS and all them, product of the cadet system there. Product of the cadet, the standard military officers course. Something is wrong, because I don't think they have made the proper assessment. We have had them charged with all kind of thing. I remember when I was there, the commission one got about 9 traffic charges and all sort of thing. Driving under the influence, the whole sort of thing. They're not conducting themselves well, because I guess they get the thing too easy. And then, the thing with Paul, let me tell you all this, Francois, because there's an article which says that he was demoted. Well, in a sense, yes. Because what happened then, the standing order says that if you are identified as a cadet, you're on probation. And if at the end of the probation period, the 2 year, it is felt that you're not likely to become a well-conducted officer and so on, you are given the opportunity to resign, or you are going to be reverted to the rank that you were when you became an officer. In Paul's case, he was a constable when he became a cadet officer, so the appointment to cadet officer was revoked. And then he became a constable. I think he ever come back. I think he ever went back into the force. But the man involved in criminal activities now, you see, drugs, guns, and all this other thing. Something is wrong, right? Something is wrong. Yeah, you had a lot of cadet, Rocky Blair, Watts, a whole set of them, Silal Prasad, David Ramnath, a whole set of people. Some did well. Some did well. The point is that you have got to make sure that these people are grounded in policing, because for the year they go to GDF, they don't do any policing. I remember there was a time when I think they had some, I can't remember, some stage where they will come, the word police, and they were trained in certain aspects for a limited period of time. But the whole selection process, something is wrong. The whole selection process is wrong. Let me bring in Mr. Conway, because he was there. We were all part of the process. He was there at trading when Jagdeo said you want 50 cadets. I was there I was at operations, I think, around that same time, because I was part of the interview panel. I remember that very well, right? The people like Carl Wilson and all them, right? There's another story. Yes, CC.
Yeah, and let me make it clear, a cadet is not really an officer. The definition of cadet is someone training to become an officer. Someone training to become an officer. And perhaps people forget that part. Yes, Paul, I was in this. I was there. I was in the training environment when Jack Dew said, we got to get 50 cadet officers to strengthen the middle management. We didn't agree with it, but Green was commissioner, and Green had a lot of pressure. That most times when you go to a meeting, you want to know how many you got, how many going to GDF, and you got to answer. And some of the pressure came down to me. Yes, we had at least one from the training school. He became a cadet, and then he was later charged, I think, with a rape. No proper vetting. But the thing is, selling them to the army, for me, it doesn't make sense. Apart from maybe strengthening the little brotherhood relationship between the army officers and police officers. Nothing. Because you go to the army and you spend at least a year training with nothing about policing. They used to call it standard military officer corps. I think they dropped the M now. Military is SOC now, they call it. And I remember I had to deal with them when they came back from the army, because we used to say they're green like grass. I had them in training at the college for over 4 months, training them, teaching them basic policing, a little leadership, and other things. I also had 20 something in the classroom. And I must admit that a whole lot of them had tremendous potentials for growth and development. I used to call them my aspirants. Something I still see of them who are now very senior police officers, could still call them my aspirants. And had them in training school there, rigid training. And then after that training was complete, the intention was that you post them to various departments and branches in the Ghana Police Force, and you rotate them in traffic, in CID, in TSU, in immigration, and all about the places that you rotate them. And only rotate them once they're there, they're being assigned, they get a mentor, somebody who would mentor them. And before they finish in that department, there's an assessment. I design an assessment form where the mentor had to report on them, and then the head of the department will also put in his comments, come to the college, and then we will go to the commissioner of police. But they go there and they get lost in the woodwork. No mentorship, nothing whatsoever. They operate on trials and errors. Unlike when Green and others were cadets, they made them corporals and they moved them all over the place. By the time you hear a cadet that Springlands, you got to Kwapau, you got to let them, you got to Ikeraku, all over the place. The intention was with those cadets, and I think we made 46 cadets, that you need to rotate them all over the place so that they get experience, they get knowledge, and they have a mentor but no mentorship. So the whole thing went haywire. Some have done well, but quite a number of them fell by the wayside. I don't know what's the present policy now in terms of appointing cadets. I don't know if they're still sending them to the army, but for me, a waste of time. You waste a whole year of training when you send them to the army. I told President Jack Diusu, I told President Ramatar so. That is a waste of time. Let us do the internal cadet the way it's made, like when we had Henry Green and Bunbury and others. That is the best system. And just to recap, Paul, you mentioned about Skip Roberts and Glasgow went to England, and there's a very funny story where the white instructor turned to Skip Roberts, and he said, "How is it the two of you from Guyana, and you're so fair and he's so dark, so bloody dark? How is it that?" And Skip Roberts said, "Well, I was born in the city, and he was born in a country area." Full stop.
Yeah. I born in the country too, that's why he dark. I born in the country, that's why he dark. Folks, what we done it, let me bring back Mr. Calvin to give his closing, man. Can't now realize 2 hours and 5 minutes. See. Let me hear your closing, man.
I got some comments from, remember I mentioned what the financial irregularities at the police special constabulary, what happened at the airport, money they collecting for buy gift and all kind of thing for people who retired, and also where double whammy. And I got quite a lot of positive comments from people, from people, especially people in the special constabulary. They say it is happening, and they hope that they change the situation. At one location, they held a meeting, and they discuss it. But let's hope that they will deal with it. And I'm sure when we reach again, we'll talk about the big medal that I understand was issued to members of the joint services for keeping the peace.
Yeah. We got a lot of things. We haven't even talked yet on the, we alluded to the cabinet. Somebody said the cabinet gonna be infected with old wood. And like, so get granny sugar. One of them country people, the tongue people rather know is granny sugar. You got a lot of granny sugar coming out of the cabinet. That's what you're gonna get. You got all sort of things they're calling grannies now. Well, there was a little bit of cabinet, granny sugar rolling out from there. That's what you can get. That's the cabinet. So maybe they're trying to make sure you get the right type of wood. They get the right type of wood so you can get granny sugar and it's not infested with termites, wood ants, what we call wood ants. Termite with wood ants. They got a story, a joke with a man with this wood ants thing, Percy, listen to this. This is a joke, wood ants man. A man got involved in an accident, right? Not incident, accident. And during the course of the accident, his testicles were ruptured. And then during the course, he went to the surgeon. The surgeon had a pastime he was also a sculptor. So he used to make sculptures and so on. So the man walked on me. The man get 2 pieces of wood and fix back the testicles and so on. And then everything all right for a couple of months and everything going good. Then he went back to the doctor. Doctor said, what happened? He said, doctor, this thing itching bad. All itching. I can't help it. It itching. It itching. Doctor decided for boss, when he boss, said, wood ants take over the thing. It's wood ants take over the thing, man. So termites a guy anyway, So you got to be extremely worried. So maybe that's what they're trying to avoid in this cabinet. We have a lot of things, we are hopeful that by the time we come again, Bodney, God's Spirit Life, that we are going to be able to hear what type of wood they use to this cabinet. We're going to be able to hear to who are the people going to parliament, because I looking keenly. I see a lot of lists floating around the place as well. I don't pay no mind to them thing. I don't pay no mind to that. I waiting to hear the official thing. When they say who get in what work, then I'm going to analyze. But I say I am looking to see those who will be left off. I am looking to see those who will be left out from from Parliament. And talking about that, I hope they reinstate the word corruption, because now that the president plans to form an anti-corruption unit, I don't know if they're bringing back the bottom, the Nadir, to be speaker. Let's watch and see, because, you know, they banned the word corruption. But now that the government, or at least the president, has admitted, the PPP has admitted that they get something named corruption, because in the manifesto, they're going to establish anti-corruption, dedicated anti-corruption unit. So now that they have admitted that they got something named corruption, let's see where they will go. Only this afternoon, we're going to talk about money. I just see, let me read. I just see something pop up there on the social media out some big fuel scandal. Big fuel scandal at Guyale. But it's all around. It's an hustling place with it. Big fuel scandal at Guyale. It was just thing there. Right? And then I see for update, homicide detectives have taken into custody Wayne Barker after he turned himself in to the police at the Rival police station Friday afternoon. Barker is accused of attempted murder on social media personality Lola Kalinder, popularly known as Lola Dahl. His attorney, Sayan Dujan, told 90 News that Barker was not wanted by the police, but saw a Facebook post accusing him of the murder. Quote, he chose to visit the station on his own volition to assist the investigation. He has an alibi. Oh, there's alibi. He has an alibi. Wonder what kind of alibi is that? He has an alibi. He was in Borbies on the day and night in question at a hotel and nightclub. End of quote, Dujan said. Sources have told 90 News that investigators have decided to keep Barker in custody while they verify his alibi in Borbies at the time in question. Kalinder was shot. You know, it's strange. Let me pull up back this thing. Hold on. Y'all bear with me. Bear with me. I tell y'all when I read the thing about the 7 men. The 7 men, right? This man, what they're saying, they got the tape on social media now. They said the Wayne Barker has turned himself in. And if you recall, when they said the 7 men who were the main suspect in the abduction of Joshua David appeared before magistrate at the Georgia Magistrate Court were granted bail are Wayne Barker, 34. Is it the same? You know, people get the same name, you know. People get the same name. But Wayne Barker was is before the court, because as far as I'm aware, that matter is still going on. The abduction of Brick, Joshua David called Brick, September last year in Main Street, daytime. He was one of the persons charged with the abduction. Now he is being, I don't know if he goes by the name Wanzi too, because it's a Wanzi or Wani or whatever your name, right? Tell you, I can do a little work for them. I will do a little work for them. So that's a developing story. Guyale, big scandal, even though they tell you they got corruption, big scandal. And don't forget, the biggest scandal ever in Guyana. The biggest scandal ever in Guyana. Let me play them for y'all, man. Play. The biggest scandal. Hold on. Bear with me. Don't tell me I delete this thing. I deleted something today. Hope I delete this one.
Let me make it clear.
Another one. There's no one I want. Hold on, y'all, bear with me. Let me play this one.
Sit there and fabricate that. Unless you say who the person is, I can't comment on anonymous people.
Okay, well, let's talk about specific individuals. What is your relationship with Mr. Su Jurong?
Su? Oh, Su? My relationship? Nothing. He's a tenant in my place, yeah.
And he's a good friend of yours?
Yes, he is a friend of ours.
He claims
the darker you are, the lower you are on the index. The developed countries hardly ever get on this index. And they have more institutional corruption, in my view.
What about within your government? Yeah. Do you accept bribes?
No, I don't.
We've spoken to a number of Chinese business people in Guyana who said that you do accept bribes, and they've said that, in fact, it's the only way to get business done.
Yeah, well, I can't comment on that. You can just sit there and fabricate that. Unless you say who the person is, I can't comment on anonymous people.
Okay, well, let's talk about specific individuals. What is your relationship with Mr. Su Zhurong?
Su? Oh, Su? My relationship? Nothing. He's a tenant in my place, yeah.
And he's a good friend of yours?
Yes, yes, he is a friend of ours.
He claims that through his very close relationship with you, that he's able to get any deal done.
Well, I don't.
Do you use...
I have to play that part, man. So now that we can get this anti-corruption unit, we can investigate all them things now. Folks, we have had a long afternoon. I don't want to keep you from your weekend activities. I have indulged quite a lot, well, 2 hours plus. And thank you for attending. Hope you found the information useful. And share, share. So today is Friday. Again, hope you have a wonderful weekend. Be safe. I always end this program by imploring you to be safe. So many things happening. Road accidents, people getting shoot, assassination, attempt, murder, all sort of things going on. There have so many other things that we have not been able to address. People get killed. You have a thing. Talking about that, I almost forget. I haven't seen a report yet on it. We saw the fire at in Albistown. I understand that there was a fire 2 nights or so in my own village. Bedford walked in, and a man was burnt in the fire, burnt and killed. I didn't see the one make the news yet. Right? So place is unsafe. Let me understand that. When you see the type of driving on the road, people don't get no consideration. We talk about this thing with the same Lola that woman fighting with your life in the hospital and the video recording and put up on social media. That is the type of people that we have to deal with. So make sure that you're safe. Make sure that you're safe. And I encourage you to stay well. God spare life. We're going to come again Monday at the usual time, 11 o'clock. And until then, stay well. Bye.